Hello everybody. Uh, this documentary is meant to show you something that I did with my ABS unit 3 from a BMW. You can see the motorcycle here. It's a BMW R1200 CL, which I'm very proud of. I find it a very nice motorcycle and very fun to ride it. But unfortunately I am also unhappy because I had a very important issue with the ABS unit, and unfortunately this is not a simple part, not a cheap one also. It's about $2,500, so you can understand why. So I had to find a way to solve my issue with at least the smallest amount of money that I could. Well, fortunately, I was 2 times in luck. First, because the issue that I had with my unit was not so difficult to solve. The problem was the spare parts, which are very hard to find because the unit is not accepted for repairment anywhere. But with the help of a friend that I could find on the internet, he was more than generous to donate me this unit, which is very similar to mine. But the main thing was to learn how to dismantle the unit and put it back on this unit, and then do the same on mine, replacing what was bad. Now, what happened to my unit? A few months ago I observed the red light from ABS blinking quickly. When I activated the hand lever or the foot lever, but if it was just a gentle movement, while releasing the lever, the light went out. So that was not something that put me on thought at that time. What it did was when I needed to brake hard at some point, and suddenly I remained with no brakes, or in residual braking as the manual says. That is very dangerous, so I had to take some measures. First, I looked on the internet for pinpointing the problem, and the first thing that popped into my eyes was that that could be due to bad maintenance. That is replacing the brake fluid once a year, or at least once at 2 years, in 2 years. Well, I suppose that was the case because I just bought it for just a few months, so I went through this procedure, which I found on the internet, how to do it. To bleed the circuit, you have to bleed first the command circuits, that is the hand lever circuit and the foot lever circuit, and then separately the power circuits from the front and rear. For the command circuits, you have to bleed the circuits through these needles. For the front lever, the hand lever, you have to bleed this first, then this one, and this one the last. For the foot lever circuit, you have to bleed this one first, then this one second, and this one third. I did, and it was not a problem. I could flush the circuit, renew the liquid, and take care that no air is left. For the power circuit, nevertheless, you need to put the contact and use the motors and the pump by pressing a little the levers in order to make inside the pressure enough to push the brake fluid to the front wheel or the rear wheel. So I did it for the front. It was not a problem. The pump was functioning well, was pushing well. I replaced the fluid. I did the bleeding correctly. But when I did it for the rear circuit, well, that was a problem, because at that point, when I tried to touch the lever, it doesn't matter which one, hand or foot is the same, because it's an integral system and it will react to either of the levers. I could see that no fluid was pushing to the rear brake. So my best guess, that was the problem with the motor responsible for that. And here you can see the two motors, one for each circuit. This is for front, this is for rear. Both of them function the same time when you push any of the levers. So even if you hear a motor running, that doesn't mean that both are running, and that was my case. This one was running, this one was not. So that was for short what happened. Of course, I had to take the unit out because I understood that there is a faulty part in the unit, and I tried looking on the web for solutions in order to repair this time. So I found a few clips showing how to disassemble this unit, but none of them was clear enough for me to see exactly all the steps that I have to do, and at some point I had to stop. To be more precisely, just for basics, first you have to take out the computer. There are 4 bolts here. You'll take the cover out, you put up the wires, I'll show you. Then this piece from the middle where the bleeding nipples are will come off. And there is a part here which is the part with the solenoids and some valves for the relieving pressure when it's too high. This part should separate from the other one. Well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't see any movement between them, so I stopped and asked for help on the internet in order to find the solution from somebody who has done it. The problem with my unit, I knew more or less what's the problem with it, and now I'm looking on the internet to find solutions. What I found does not please me because I see a lot of possible defects, and on the forum the first thing that somebody will ask you is if you put your GS911 on it. That is a fault code detector for BMW, and it costs at least about $400. So that was another kind of investment that I was not very eager to have. So I tried to see if somebody has has some experience with this kind of unit. And fortunately, I have found on a forum a person named Paul Howard, who not just helped me, but did more than that, more than helped me. He donated me this unit, which is very similar to mine, in order to play with it and do anything with it to see exactly how it works and then apply it on my unit. And of course, to have some spare parts from it, if it will be the case. Another debate on the forums was what kind of unit is. Well, I can tell you very honestly that that is not very important. What is important is to be the same generation. So both of them are ABS 3, but they are slightly different in construction. I'll show you exactly what I'm referring to. Putting them side by side, you'll see, I'll take one in turn, my unit, and I'll put it in reverse position. My unit has the reservoir for the braking fluid in equal, not the same height. The front circuit is higher, so the reservoir is bigger. The rear reservoir is lower. With this one, you can see it's flat. So both of the chambers are the same capacity. Another thing, the plots where you can access the reservoirs are not the same. You can see here are something, and in my unit they are totally different. Here you do not see any contacts, electric contacts, to see the levels. On my unit there are. There are two floaters inside that through a contact will show if the level of the brake fluid is not the right one. And lastly but not least, I'll show you the bleeding nipples are all 6 on one side on my unit, so all of them are here. But on this unit, you'll see there are only 4 here and another 2 on the side. So it's another construction because this unit, it will mount on the motorcycle in another way, in another position. And all the lines that comes from and to the unit are meant to be directed in some other position. You can see also the height of this nipple is different from mine. But also the casing is a little different. You can see here the casting looks in one way, yes, and the casting from my unit at this end looks different. But as I told you, nevertheless, the functioning is the same. That is the most important thing. So, I'm going to show you how to disassemble this unit and show you step by step with any issue that you can come up to when doing that. You will need a few tools for working with, and some sets of tools are very useful to have. Not too many tools, but the right ones are the best. Besides a set like this, it will be needed a bit set of security bits like this. And you should be prepared with a drill machine, with the accessories, and the bit that you'll need is 1/8 of an inch, and this one is 3/16 of an inch. This will come very handy if useful. And of course, a clamp like this. You'll need some torques, which you can have it in the kit of the bit, which also will have to have some hex keys. Okay, that is all. We'll just go now to the unit. Okay, so now we'll go further on to opening the unit. I'll open this exercise unit, as I call it, while my unit is already fixed. So I have the opportunity to open it up, replace the motor, and put it right back. So it's just missing to be assembled on the motorcycle. Now I'll show you what is to be done in order to open this unit. First of all, you have to unscrew the 4 bolts from the top. For this, I will show you that you are likely to find either this kind of screws or this kind. And I put the right dimensions, this one and this one. So these are the screws that you're likely to find on this unit. Both of them are secured, so the heads are secured in some way. One of them is like a Torx, not exactly a Torx. The other one is a 3-winged head. For the Torx, of course, you will go and choose a Torx bit. And for this one, you will need a T20. Okay. This is a T20, but you will find out that the T20 Torx does not fit exactly in the head. And first I suppose that it was a problem with the bit, but finally I found on the internet that the heads of the bolts are especially done not the right Torx in order not to allow dismantling from other people. So they will use at BMW a special tool for that. But you can use also a Torx T20. The secret, the tip that I found on the internet is that you'll need to put the bit on the head and then hammer it in position. So you just need to fix it very well in the head, and then you can unscrew it. Yes, you can unscrew it. The problem is that if you are not fixing the bit inside properly, when you are trying to unscrew it, you can also destroy the head. The same applies to the 3-wing head. There is another secured bit for this. It's called, of course, the 3-wing bit. It looks like this. And you can put it in the head, and with applying enough pressure on the top of the bolt, you will be able to unscrew it. Be careful not to let it slide, because it will damage the head, and if you damage the head, then the bit will not help you anymore. Not being enough that the heads are secured in some way, the BMW also put on the thread, if you look here at the end of the thread, you'll see something like a remaining of something. Well, that is something like a glue. It's used usually to lock in place the bolts, not to enable them to unscrew due to vibration. And while this unit vibrates a lot, this is a good thing. When you'll put together the unit, you have to be careful to have this thread locker. You'll find it at Home Depot or some other places. And now, what happens if you damage the head of the screw? This applies not only to this screw, but all others. All others are, the exterior bolts are the same type that is secured and very difficult to take out. Some of them you will be able to unscrew them, as I showed you, but some of them not. For those you cannot unscrew and you'll damage the head, there is the solution. As I mentioned before, you'll need a drill and a drill machine. You'll just put first the small bit, the 1/8 bit, and of course in the position you will drill a hole in the head, and you do not go further than the depth of the head. So you drill the hole exactly on the center and not too much behind the head. After you drill with a small bit, you use the larger bit, and when you drill with this one, the head, at some point you'll see that the head will pop off. And I'll show you, this is how it looks, a head that was taken out like this. Yes? And of course, inside the unit will remain the rest of the bolt. You see here the bolt without the head. Well, of course, this bolt must be taken out. You cannot leave it there. So for this, you will use this tool, the clamp, which is with the locking mechanism, in order to generate enough force in order to rotate the bolt without slipping. So you just adjust it to have the most power that you need to put it in the lock position, and then using very, very much caution, you will rotate it counterclockwise in order to release the bolt. And then you repeat the operation until the bolt will come out. Well, after you do this, you'll have another problem to deal with. and that is replacing the screws, the bolts. What should you use for that? You'll find inside this unit 4 kinds of bolts. 3 of them you will replace. The fourth one is inside. It's a regular Torx that you'll find it also in the bolt kit. So it will be not a problem to unscrew them and put them back. So they're okay. You'll see them right away. But the other 3 are as they follow. So this one is from the computer cap, and there are 4 of them. They are all metric 4, and the length is 30. So look for M4 and the length 30 millimeters. You need 4 pieces. Then you'll reach the motors, and for the motors, this is the kind of bolt that you'll find. And this kind of bolt is M5 this time, so it's a metric 5, and the length is 20 millimeters. You'll need 4 of them too. So, and the third one is this one. It's also an M4, but this time the length is 15 millimeters, and there are 6 of them which are used for the fixing the reservoir, the cap from the reservoir. So these are the screws that you have to have prior to dismounting the unit, and you will find all of them at Home Depot. Finally, when you put back together, there are some sealing parts. Well, not always you can seal back the same with the same procedure, so it's advisable to have some silicone like this one, which will enable to seal the part. Now, I'll prepare the bits that I'll need, because now on this unit all the bolts are already, they have been already changed to the new bolts, and all the new bolts are hex. So I'll just take the hex bit from here, and I'll start opening the unit.